Welcome to the Full Dad Podcast with Pete and Bryan. Podcast with Pete and Bryan. Podcast with Pete and Bryan. Podcast with. Welcome to the Full Dad Podcast with Pete and Bryan. Podcast with Pete and Bryan. Podcast with Pete and Bryan. Podcast with. Welcome to the Full Dad.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, and welcome back to the Full Dad Podcast. Today we have a special guest. I'm Bryan, by the way.
And I'm Pete.
And I'm Kirk,
Yep.
special guest.
Yes. Kirk, thanks for joining us today. I know you
Yeah.
came all the way from Jersey, so
Yeah.
we appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Of course.
Yep. Thank you, man. So one of the first things we do with our guests is we just get a sort of brief introduction. Your name, what do you do? Just, what's going on in your life?
Cool. Name is Kirk Cameron. Father of 3, husband. I work in the physical security space. I'm a consulting engineer. Just a, regular guy, just trying to do regular things and stay active and, cultivate good relationships between my wife and my kids and have a good work-life balance.
Awesome. It's good to have another IT guy on, because we haven't, I don't think we've spoken to an IT guy before this.
Yeah, I know. I think it says, Bryan both, I do IT, and
Oh, yeah.
Bryan does IT as well. And but Kirk not only does IT, he also does physical security, so
Yeah.
access control systems and security cameras.
I'm no guru like you guys. I call this guy for advice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I've known Kirk for several years now, right? We met at when I was working at
God's Love.
God's Love.
It's like 8 years now.
And they were doing, that was when God's Love was doing this, revamping that new building construction. So we needed cameras, and I think you came in with
Yeah.
the company that put in the security system. So
Oh,
I think
nice.
I think Kirk and I kind of hit it off, and
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. I'll never forget it. Never forget it. This guy tore me apart that day. They kind of threw me to the wolves. Pete set up a whole meeting, had the whole staff there, and I kind of got up there and I dub, 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 dub. And Pete was like, called up the office, like, who'd you send over here? Like, what's this? What are we doing? And then they finally got me set up and situated, and I came back and me and Pete talked, and then we just, from there, that's when we, that point hit it off, and it was just like, hey man, I understand. And then you started to see oh, this guy's it's not a blubbering idiot. And shoot, 8 years later, here we are, man. We started talking about sneakers and this and that, and then before I knew it, that was it.
yeah.
That was it.
And then I got married. You got married. We got kids. So life's evolved. See, I have more of a nostalgic view of it. It sounds like you have more trauma.
Yeah, no. Listen, it was one of those times in life where you know you're smart, but you're not meeting a bunch of smart people all the time, and then you meet this really intelligent person that just looks at you and is just like, yeah, man, your charm and your talk's not gonna just win me over just like that. You got to come in here and know what you're talking about. And yeah, man, I respected that so much about him that it was just yeah, I'm not just gonna deal with this guy because whatever. And listen, it helped me step my game up. I don't think I'd be here without meeting people like Pete along the way to kind of help me push and just want to be better.
That's awesome. Was that at the Pfizer site when you guys were there, or is this what at the
This was at the Soho site. When we were at
Soho
Pfizer,
location.
it was when they tore down the old building and were rebuilding, building the new one. And I guess for that new building, they needed to install security cameras and the key card locks, all the access control stuff.
was that still in place when by the time you left?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good. I used to go back a few times. Yeah.
But yeah, I think the company he was with was part of one of the companies that were doing. I think they were doing some of the network wiring as well as the physical security system and the cameras.
Structured cabling. I think they did all of that for you guys, but yeah, that's how we met. Yeah, and it's like 8 years now at this point. That was 2015. Yeah.
Have you guys worked together since then?
Not really. I think
not together necessarily, but I reached out recently, right? Had him help with the current company I'm at with doing migration from Google to M365. So he
Oh,
came in
interesting.
and
Okay.
he came in. He kind of just worked and did his thing and got us up and going. So
All right.
yeah.
Well, for what it's worth, I want to say thank you for the kind words before.
Oh, always.
You know, like, and I think, I mean, just as like, you know, another man to man, I really respect you, and I really respect you like as a father, and I know we don't often get the chance to see each other or talk that often, but I just want to tell you that I really respect you and the person you are, and like the person I knew and the person that I now know.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, likewise. I don't want to take too many of your words, but yeah. Yeah, I think we both watched each other go into like these different spaces and different avenues and navigate life. And although we may not speak every day, we don't really miss that beat with each other, no matter what. It's not like he becomes a stranger if I don't speak to him in like 2 or 3 weeks. It's like we just pick up the phone and it's like, hey man, how's everything? It's like, hey, everything's cool, and we just
Yeah.
keep it rolling, you
Yeah.
know. So
It's actually kind of cool because I have a very similar relationship with Bryan as well, who I've known Bryan for, I don't know, a long time now, since OBT, right?
Yeah, OBT was, I mean, I've got 10 years at my current job. And there was like 4 years before that. I left in 2012. So I think I've known you since 2010.
Wow. Okay.
It's about to be 15 years.
That's crazy.
I know. I was a baby.
Yeah, and I think when he started, he was like a trainee in the program.
I was, yeah.
OBT was this non-profit that was like GD program for out-of-school youth, right?
Yeah, they had, yep. They had
GED
internship
job
programs. Yeah, youth training. They also had GED and English classes in the evening, which is what I did there first when I first started there.
And yeah, and I think he came in as a trainee. Then he kind of ended up getting a position at the organization. And another person who's grown so much in the time that I've known him. I mean, he was like, you know, I thought like not that like you're a little kid, but you were young.
Yeah, no, I was.
And all of a sudden now he's a dad, also a husband. So it's amazing to see like people like, as you know, we follow them for such a long time, how their life evolves, how they grow, how they mature, the people they become. It's actually like really amazing to see.
Yeah, it's one of the things you miss when you if you don't see someone for 10 years, you miss that journey. And although they can tell you about it, you're sort of like not part of it. But I've seen in the same respect, I've seen you grow. I've seen you become a dad, get married, and go through stuff in life just the same way I have. So it's great that we've maintained this. And look, now we're here.
yeah.
And I'm happy that like bring Kirk into like this space as well, and yeah, hopefully, I mean, I think hopefully even after the podcast or after today, we can kind of still cultivate and see each other, see how
Yeah, for sure.
our lives grow and be a part of it.
It's only one of many.
Yeah.
So Kirk, you have 3 kids, you said?
Yep.
You have, what do you have? What's the composition there?
6-year-old, twin, 3-year-olds.
Oh, you got twins.
Yeah, all boys.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy. I'm always interested in like the twins because I'm just like, yo, what trouble do they get into?
And he has 3 boys, so you know that.
Oh,
It's
man.
a lot of energy.
Listen, my condolences.
It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of energy. Keeping up. My 6-year-old is now like getting into video games and starting to he loves Fortnite. He's just getting into the things that kids get into. He's playing a lot of video games with his cousins. The 3-year-olds are 3-year-olds. They're growing. They're learning. They're doing a lot of different things. One of my twins, he is autistic. So his journey with learning has been a lot different than, I'm going to call him twin A or Cruz.
Yeah.
Cruz is, the firstborn, the one that's a minute older. You see him growing and he's doing certain things, and then he's not doing the same things, but then eventually catching up. So it's been an interesting journey. It's been a tough one, but where he's at now that we have like a lot of the tools in place, like since he's been like officially diagnosed, like he's in the proper school and getting all the tools that he needs necessary, now he knows how to, he interacts with his brothers a lot better so far as that space, because they kind of all play the same way, right? They roughhouse and do stuff like that, but just teaching him like the outside is a little bit different. But again, inside the house, these guys they're never in one spot, man.
Yeah.
They're never in one spot. So you just got to keep up keep up. We're gonna go outside. We're gonna go take a walk. Go hit the park. Just keep them active and keep them moving. So it helps me. It keeps me from just sitting down and getting the full on dad body.
Yeah. Taking that nap you eagerly want.
Yeah.
So is there like a certain, do you see, like with the twins, is there a dynamic? I mean, because you said you can see the difference between like their sort of development. Do you think they're aware they're still too young? Do they sort of see with each other? Like, how do they interact? I always feel like with twins, I always feel like there's this like thing about twins that they somehow have this like psychological connection with each other.
I think we're starting to see that now, right? And Cruz, whenever he talks about Maverick is the one. He calls him my Maverick. So he's very like protective of him. He's very like, no, like my Maverick, he needs this or he needs that, and he'll make sure Maverick is good in a lot of ways that like I'm just like, yo, dude, you're 3 years old. Like, why are you? But he's very protective of his twin brother. Does he necessarily know, hey, my brother is a little bit different? I don't think he even pays attention to it. It's just like he'll be like, hey, come on, like, let's do this. And then Maverick will either follow, and then he'll be like, Maverick's not listening. And he'll go about his day. But for the most part, he's like including him in whatever he's doing. He's like, if they want to sit down and they want to be on their iPads together, like they'll sit down. We got them like these little couches, and they'll sit together and they'll play, and he'll show them stuff. And yeah, he kind of just, he helps him not be a crutch, but in a way of like, hey, come on, like we're going to go do this. And they kind of just flow that way. It's great to see. It's great to see even just a 3-year-old, like just, all right, maybe my brother's a little different, but let's go. Like that's how he says it. It's like, he's my baby. And it's like, well, you're my baby. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's a great dynamic that I see between them and all of them. My 6-year-old, we more recently like explained it to him that his brother is autistic. And he doesn't quite wrap his mind around it, right? Like, he's 6 years old. Like, he says whatever's on his mind.
Yeah.
So
Raw.
if we're out or something like that, like we were getting pizza the other day, right? There's a local pizza shop by my house, and we just go, we'll sit down, we'll talk with the owner and all that stuff. Like, he's a very family guy, and like he's been in the neighborhood for years. So we go in, and like my son gets up and he runs into the kitchen, and then he runs back. And I was like, okay. And my 6-year-old is like, don't worry, he's autistic. And I was like, great. Like, don't, let's not, everybody doesn't need to know what's going on. But I think he's just doing it as a forewarning of like, hey, don't think like my little brother is just this wild, crazy kid. Like, there is something going on with him. So for him, it's just like, hey, there's something going on. Just don't, Us as adults, I guess there's like more discretion behind it, right? You want to ease people into that. But yeah, they're all protective of him in a way that is just like, it's beautiful to see. Of like, my 6-year-old will just let him come in his room, and he'll take his Legos and he'll move everything all around, and it's just like, I'll clean it up after. Like, and he doesn't worry about it. Like, he just lets him do whatever. The other one, on the other hand, he'll tell him like, hey man, don't come in my room and cause no mess. Cause
his twin.
His twin.
Okay.
He'll tell Cruz like, don't come in here and cause no, go, get out. But because he knows Cruz knows a little bit better than Maverick does, so he'll just they give him like this invisible pass that it's just amazing to watch them know, hey, he needs a little bit more patience and a little bit more time with everything else. I think they love each other all immensely, but they give him that little bit of space to just be him, which is amazing.
That's awesome. Do you think that level of like sort of understanding between the three of them is something that they developed on their own, or was it like a mix of themselves and sort of like input as from you guys as parents?
I think it's like a combination, like you're saying. Between me and mom, we definitely do push like, hey, like you guys are brothers, like you guys got each other always, right? Like if the rest of the world is doing whatever they want to do, like it's you three till the end. Like always look out for each other, always love each other. Don't be mean, don't be this, don't be that. I mean, they're kids, they have their moments, right? But at the end of it, it's like, hey, like let's get over this, let's move on, and you guys can go back to playing and doing whatever you want to do. So we do try to instill a strong brotherhood bond from now, right? I've learned it a lot later in life with like my brothers. I have like 3 older brothers, so like I feel like now our brotherhood is becoming like tighter, and it's because of like just circumstance. A lot of things are going on, but like we are becoming tighter, communicating a little bit more and all that stuff like that. But like growing up, Caribbean parents, they didn't have the time to sit down with us, and
Yeah.
it's just like, hey, like you guys are doing good, y'all aren't fighting, cool. But
Yeah.
to say cultivate your relationships and really hone in and be brothers on a whole nother level, we've all grown in certain ways where we have outside people that's like, yeah, like this is my brother, like this is like my brother, you know what I mean? And now it's just like I find myself leaning more on my brothers and moving that way. And not saying like I'll never have like great friends. I do have great friends, but yeah, I feel like brotherhood is a very important thing, especially considering coming from a house of like all boys. I want my children to do the same thing with each other. Like you guys are like, when you guys think of things, like think of each other first, and then you guys can conquer the world together ultimately. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
That is. It's really amazing to hear, and it's kind of cool that you say you're the youngest of you have 3 brothers as well, or
Yeah, I'm the
okay.
youngest.
And so there's 4 brothers total.
Hmm.
Okay.
I'm the youngest. I'm the oldest of 4. I have 2 brothers and a sister.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I'm an only child.
Yeah.
But it is kind of cool that now, like the dynamic you had as a kid, or with your brothers, and even that now that you have siblings, now your kids have. It's like the same kind of family structure gets passed on. I mean, it's not like you only have one kid; you have multiple kids, multiple, and they all have siblings the same way you sort of grew up.
Yep.
But you also, I know you also mentioned with the Caribbean family, but I think that's probably the story with a lot of people of color or just people in general. I mean, maybe previous generation where they're probably working a lot and focus on like trying to upward mobility, trying to make a better life for their children. So the time and the ability to like work on those things aren't there because that time is elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. They're focused on keeping a roof over our heads and food on the table, which I commend them. We're all 4 of us. We're here. We're all successful in our own right. None of us are in any type of trouble or anything like that. So I know it's proud moments for my parents when they look back, when they look at us now, like, hey, you guys are all, nobody's getting in trouble. You guys have families. You guys work decent jobs, and you're doing better than what I did. And I think that for them is their form of success. And now we can take it to the next level as the next generation of saying, hey, you guys did all this stuff so that I can be here. Now I want to make sure I raise great loving people. Not saying that my parents didn't try to raise great loving people, but now I can hone in on these little things and these little aspects and spend more time and dedicate more time and not just be always focused on work, because that part of my life has been I've been able to establish something, and then now I can focus on these kids, what do they need? How can they be great with each other? How can they be great for themselves? All of these things like that. So
I feel like for myself, it's sort of like, what the way they raised me and the things they did in order to raise 4 kids, which now I find as a parent of 1 child, I'm like, he's enough. But I was like, I can't even imagine, just 4 kids, and I honestly, I wanted 4 kids in the beginning, and then that trickled down to 3 and then to 2. And then and I'm like, you know what, with my own kid, okay, that we're good.
I'm gonna stay right here.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. But I think it's like that was their story, and now that, as you were saying, like you can hone in and you can focus on your family, I think it's time for you to tell your story and you develop it in the way that in exactly the way you want it to.
Yeah.
But I think it also sounds like your parents. I mean, say if they're from the Caribbean. I'm assuming from. Where's your family originally from?
Jamaica.
Jamaica. Okay. And were they first? Were they immigrants from here? Or were they born here?
Yeah, no, they're immigrants from here.
Okay.
My dad came here, I want to say when he was about 16 or 17.
Okay.
And my mom maybe came here a little bit earlier because she went to high school in Queens. So yeah, my dad moved here and like went to trade school and picked up photography and all that stuff. And my mom, went to high school and then went to like community college and got like her associates and they've just kind of just worked.
Yeah.
And
I guess, but it sounds like their hard work put the foundation to give you the ability to have sort of like, I don't know if buffer is the right word, but at least a platform that be like now to grow onto, and for your family to kind of like have this a much more, I can't say fulfilling, but like for you to have the time to, or the ability to like be able to focus on your kids more, to be able to because they kind of laid this foundation where your life isn't just working like 12 16-hour days. When you work and they give you enough of to kind of level you up to a place where you can like, all right, now I'm at work, I have a decent job, and now I can focus some time on my kids as well.
oh yeah, yeah. I think they definitely laid the groundwork. They showed us like hard work. They did show us family because like my dad has one brother, my mom has two sisters, and they're all relatively tight. And we've always been close with like cousins, and they've always showed us that like, hey, spend time with your family. Necessarily like the things that I'm saying like, hey, these are your brothers. Those words may not have explicitly been said, but I think the message was kind of always underlying there. And now it's our turn to like pick up on those messages that were being given to us. Maybe our parents didn't know how to say it, and that's what I'm learning now, right? I think we have a wealth of information in front of us as being the next generation, that we learn how to speak to our children and we learn how to talk with one another and share things that our parents were probably going through things, doing things, didn't know how to talk to friends or confide in other people or even speak to their children about how things are going. They just internalized a lot, and I'm learning a lot of stories from my dad now. My dad he's going to be 80 in January. So now he's just like a historian now, right? He just likes to talk a lot. Like if you sit him down for a second, he's going to talk to you for at least an hour and he'll just give you story after story now. Once upon a time, you may not get a lot of words from my dad, but I just think, I think age gives you a certain insight and it's just like, hey, I'm just going to talk now, right? I think we're able to pick up on that wisdom and insight a lot sooner and kind of hone that in with our children and like, hey, talk to them and do this and do that and learn, like teach them things that we learned, but we weren't explicitly taught in a certain kind of way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's like, especially I think for Caribbean or Latin family's a big thing. There's all these big family events. I mean, I went to, excuse me, the barbecue you threw.
Oh yeah,
last summer.
yeah.
And it was huge. It was like, a lot of people there, a lot of family. I met your dad. I believe I also met your in-laws as well.
Yeah, my dad, my mom. I think you probably met my brothers too. Everybody was there.
Yeah.
Everybody was there.
It was, I mean, I think I probably met a lot of people, but it was a lot of, it's like a whirlwind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and you could tell, I did meet your parents, and you could tell that I could see the pride in your dad's face. There's certain times, like, it's kind of like when you guys were talking or whatever, that like your dad was happy and like, and that those moments of having all the family together meant a lot to them.
Yeah, for sure. My dad loves that when it's just like you get together, he sees like his 4 boys together and how they just bring everybody together. It's just like for him, those are the moments where he's just probably like one of his most happy, proud moments where he's just like just sitting back and he's just enjoying those moments. So I like to see that on my dad's face. That's a whole nother topic, but yeah.
Well, I'm sure he probably feels like mission accomplished.
Yeah.
He can like rest easy now. Like my boys are good. They have children now, and your brothers have kids as well, correct?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's my oldest brother has 4. The second oldest has 1, and then the third has 2. So amongst us all is like 10 or 11 grandchildren, something. I have 3, right? Yeah, it's like 10 or 11 grandchildren.
Oh my God.
My parent. But
I'm sure your
my
parents love
love.
that though, being grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My mom loves it dearly. If I tell her, come over, hey, come over, come just hang out with us for the weekend, she'll drive out here in no time and just come hang out. We chill, we hang out, watch the kids, do whatever they do, and yeah, yeah. My parents love that, and I love to see that for them.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I know you live in Brooklyn. I mean, I'm sorry, in Jersey. Where do your parents live?
my parents are in New York.
Oh, New York, okay.
They're in Long Island.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's not too bad of a drive, but they'll come out, they'll come hang out, stay for the weekend, or vice versa. I'll go out there. I try to go out there more often than having them drive out so much. But yeah, I go out there probably at least once or twice a month.
Mm-hmm.
My brothers are there. One of my brothers owns a barbershop, so I take me and all the kids. We get haircuts.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we still make a lot of time to make sure I go see everybody and keep those relationships just rolling,
Mm-hmm.
rolling and building.
And your parents, I mean, they're still together. I know I saw them together. They're still
Yeah,
married.
45
Wow.
years, 46.
Okay.
My oldest
Wow,
brother's
that's amazing.
45, so
Yeah.
46 or 47.
Do you think that seeing them as, I guess, growing up and their marriage kind of helped you at least be aware of how to be in a relationship or be a husband? Or you think that you kind of learned that on your own as things with, your relationship with your wife evolved?
I think I learned a lot from them, from just watching two people in a completely different generation like grow up and love each other and do certain things. And not saying that my parents don't. My parents love each other dearly, but the time that they had for each other isn't the same like how we may cultivate time for our relationships with our significant others, of saying like, hey, we got to get a babysitter so that we can go out tonight. I don't think my parents thought about that, but their love always came around of, hey, we got to make sure these kids are good. And they've always done that, and they've always shown that foundation of just providing for us and doing things. And they've had their moments in between there where, they may catch them going to the movies or going on like a little date or doing something like that. So yeah, watching them and their foundation of just like, hey, well, I know what to do here and I know what not to do here, because I can see how my mom may have reacted with this, or how my dad may have not responded too well to that with my mom. And it's like, all right, how do I take that into my relationship and just always try to be a better man or a better husband to my wife, and not say like, hey, well, my dad did this, whether my mom was happy or not, and I'm just going to do the same thing. And it's like, no, well, I can learn from his mistakes. And I think that's the most important thing of like, I'm thankful and grateful for having two parents who, despite they've gone through a lot of things, they're still together today, right? I still watch them argue and bicker or do whatever, but at the end of it, I know there's a love between them that is like, I don't know, it's just, I don't think they're good. They're not going anywhere with each other, right? I think at this stage in life, and it's a beautiful thing to watch them like just keep going. And it's just like, hey, I want to do those same things, right? And I want to build these foundations, and how do I take from what they did and just make it better? And those are my key takeaways. I take away the good and the bad so that I can figure out how to be better ultimately. So it is a great foundation to watch and just grow and go with. So I hope that answered your question.
No.
Sometimes I get lost in a lot of words, but
Great answer. Do you think that the way you father is you model that after your dad, or do you?
sometimes, yeah, my dad had to rule. He ruled with an iron fist. So, right? Dad walked in the room. You're like, man, you got to tighten it up. But now I see him and I hear from him. These are his own words of like, hey, just talk to your kid. And I'm like, you're telling me, you are telling me to just talk?
We missed that note 50
Yeah,
years
no.
ago.
Dude,
When
you never talked with us. It was just like straight to it,
just
like
straight
yo,
to the
man.
belt.
But I take that because for him, he has way more insight than what I have. Right? He has all these years of experience. He has 4 sons. He's raised us all, and he may have done certain things that he probably sat back and he's had a longer time to think about than me, and he's able to pass that on to me and say, hey, like I know I did this, but you could do this, and it might work. It may or may not work. So, yeah, I think I do take a lot from him, even till this day. Right? I may have been fathered by him a certain way then, but he's showing me a certain father now that I'm taking into consideration. I'm like, wow, like this guy is like, okay, you got a whole different take on things, and I respect it, and I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna listen, and I'm gonna take these things and I'm gonna try to implement it with my children. Hey, my dad said talk. He didn't talk too much before, but now he says, hey, talk to your kids. You just gotta talk to you guys. And I try to do that more, talk to them, explain things, and not just say, hey, what dad says is it, what mommy says, that's it. I mean, obviously in some regards, but I'm still going to explain a lot more to you than how my dad did at a certain time, because now he takes the time to explain things a little bit more. So I think fatherhood is an amazing thing, and to watch my dad still fathering, if even me being a grown man and the rest of my brothers being a grown men, he still has a way of fathering, and fathering men to still show us and teach us things till this day. So, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like even he's like, according to what you said, even he's still learning. And now, of course, he has a different approach. But I think it's like interesting because sometimes we see our parents as like, they know it all. We got to trust them. But, even they're learning. We just don't understand it at that level. And I think I feel like my dad has mellowed out throughout the years. My dad is 56. I'm 37. He had me when he was 18. And then my brother 10 months later. I don't know how. But I was like, I don't know. We were all C-section babies. So I was like, I don't know how that worked, but it worked. But I know he struggled a lot. And if you're 18 and you have a kid, I was like, that's super young. I can't see any of like these 18-year-old kids because to me, an 18-year-old, I look at them and I'm like, they still seem like just like little kids.
Babies.
I was like, and you're having a baby?
Yeah.
But no, I see him now, and I feel like he's mellowed out, and of course he still gets angry, and I know if he's had his own he's had anger issues for for a very long time, but I see him mellow out, and I think my relationship with my dad is has grown throughout the years. The other day I was laying on the bed, they were watching TV. And my dad called me, and he was asking me about Bitcoin. So we start talking about. He said, "You told me about Bitcoin." And he's like, "Yo, if you would have had it in it, you would have been rich." We just started talking like that. But I was on the phone with him for about an hour, almost close to 2 hours.
Oh wow!
And it's like we never really we'll talk on the phone, and sometimes we'll get it into a really good conversation, and just keep going and going until the point where he's like, "Yo, Bryan, listen, I'm falling asleep over here. I gotta go." It was almost like 12 o'clock, so I was like, "All right, fair enough, you're good." But I love seeing that because now I engage with him much more, and it's cool to have these conversations that we didn't have that relationship back then. Where we can talk to each other, but I think him being mellowed out, him growing older, maybe him just just with age,
Slowing down.
yeah, slowing down, yeah. He's like, he reacts differently, but I think he himself is still learning how to be a dad with us.
Well, I think that's I mean, I guess true for everybody. I feel like
Yeah.
I really feel like you only know what you know, and
Yeah.
as time progresses, I mean, I'm sure we've all had these experiences where you handle one situation, the way you handle a situation 5 years ago, and then you think about it, if it's a similar situation now, you realize, and you handle it differently, but you look back, you're like, oh, I wish I would have known how to handle it, this situation back then, but you only know what you know at the time, and over time, and that comes with age and experience and wisdom, and there's no other way to acquire that without time.
Yeah.
And I think I think Bryan and I have spoken before about our fathering and the methods we use, and even as a father, and it's like the 10 years that I've been a dad has evolved. I mean, before I thought a certain way. I mean, more of there were times. I mean, when Hunter was younger, I would spank him a few times, but I realized I was because that's the way I thought was how to do it.
Yeah.
But then over time I realized that isn't. I mean, there's times I still lose my temper and I'll yell, but I'm not spanking him. I'm not like hitting him. But they're but you only know what you know as
As you
time
go on,
progresses
yeah.
and as you evolve. But also I think it's a testament to certain people that they can grow, because some people sort of get stuck.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And then they are who they are, and they never evolve. There's no introspection, and I think it's a testament to, even like you say, your dad and your dad, that they're older now, and now they have the ability to grow. Because some people, I'm sure you've encountered people like this in your life, where they're the same exact person, the good parts and the bad parts are still there 5-10 years later,
Yeah.
and there hasn't been any evolution, no movement, not even a thought of, oh no, this is something I should really work on, or I should try to get better. Just like they kind of like, I'm who I am.
Yep.
Which is almost like they're stagnant.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty amazing that you're saying your dad was a certain way, but now he's different now, and now he has the ability to grow and learn and realize, and try to give you the advice that maybe he's acquired over the years.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. I think I think in life, a lot of our circumstances, right, and like this goes back to like our parents and the things that they weren't able to teach us at a certain time. Just it all builds around like certain circumstances of, hey, I gotta make sure the house is together. I gotta make sure there's food on the table, and they don't have a moment to think about anything else, and they may be stagnant in a certain place. And once some of these worries are out the way, right, once like my oldest brother was gone, he moved out, it's like one less kid to worry about. Right now I can worry about other things. And when it was just down to me, because I'm 7 years off from the last one out of the three, so they're all in their 40s. I'm 35, so it now, once it's just me, they have this time to like, okay, like,
Yeah.
there's less mouths to feed, there's less, we have a little bit more time, and they have some time to, I guess, be to reflect and think about, hey, all right, life has went this way and life has went that way, and now I'm here and everybody's doing good, and what could I have done different and stuff like that. And I think as long as you're around like the right people, and I feel like my parents, I've watched them be in a certain place for a while, but I have watched them grow in different respects. They show me that you got to also constantly be wanting to grow and learn and evolve, so yeah.
I think it's also, I mean, you said, like, I think when you're sort of in survival mode,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to thrive. You're just trying to, like, keep the lights on, keep food on the table, keep this. And it's hard to, I think it's true in anything. If you're just surviving, you're not thriving.
Yeah,
You're
there's
just-
no time to think about anything else. It's like I have to feed my kids. I have to take care of the house. I have to work, and I have to work. Like, you can't even think about like retirement.
Yeah.
It's sort of like I just got to keep on going.
I got to
keep
make
on
it to
going.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're not even thinking about the end of the week. I just got to make it to tomorrow.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a hard place to be in, but you can eventually get out of it. And once you are, then you start to see the bigger picture, and it's just like, hey, I can show my kids so much more. I can offer them so much more than just teaching them how to work hard, right? There's so much more to life than just working.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think those lessons are probably the more important ones. I think life is challenging, and life is going to kick the shit out of you. And I guess teaching them resilience and grit, and as well as compassion and empathy, and are important. And actually, I was going to mention this before, but we sort of went off. I think it was really amazing to hear about your boys, because it sounds like they've already learned a level of compassion and empathy at such a young age, and understanding and acceptance. And when you were telling me, I'm like, wow, that's pretty fucking amazing, and like really touching, and like really like amazing to hear that these little human beings have only been on this planet for a short period of time, have already cultivated this level of compassion and empathy, and even protectiveness of Maverick. In a very organic, natural ways. It wasn't forced. It's just like, they know. And I was like, it's pretty astounding if you really think about it. It's like, really, so, congrats to you and like your wife, and like, it sounds like really amazing set of boys.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. I guess those are those moments where you sit back and it's like, these are the things that your kids do and it makes you proud. And you don't even know it's happening until it happens,
Yeah.
right? Like when we started to realize, and like how I was telling you, like we're seeing it now more than ever with like Cruz. It was like at the beginning of November, they did like a whole thing at school, like what you're thankful for, and they made like a feather and put on a turkey. And Cruz wrote Maverick. I'm thankful for Maverick. We were just like
Mind blown.
yeah, it was like it was just like it was like wow, like of the things that you're thankful for, right? Like you could say mommy, daddy, my toy, anything, right? Because they're kids, could be anything. It was just like my Maverick, and I guess it's just like his brother he holds very near and dear to him, and he's very protective of him, and it's just like it just makes you. I'm just like wow, I didn't even know that you felt this way. You know, obviously he's 3, he can't articulate, but it's just like wow, like you're really like you're protective of your brother. That is like who your person is, and it's amazing to watch, and it's amazing to sit back and say like wow, like mom and dad have done that for you guys. We have at least showed you something where you have this love and compassion for your brother and your siblings, that no matter what, like that's my Maverick, that's my Grayson, that's my Cruz, like that's how they are with each other. And I love to see that, because that's the one thing that like me growing up, I want to see that brotherhood between them. I want them to be just like being accountable for one another and always looking out for one another, and making sure one another are good. So
it's good because it's almost like you want to have them form their own unit. Even, I mean, I'm sure on some level, even to protect them, look out for each other from from the parents.
Oh, yeah.
Almost like covering for each other, whatever. Because ultimately, I think at some point, we're all gonna pass away. We're all gonna get old, and then they're still gonna be here. And if they have that unit, they're always then you at least you can rest assured that they're always gonna take care of each other.
Oh yeah. Because you see it a lot in life, right? Parents go away and siblings become kind of estranged. Everybody's in different corners, and it's just like I want them to always know like the base is their family, which is you guys as well, right? Mom and dad are here, not gonna be here forever, but mom and dad are here right now, and you guys are gonna have each other until your days. And I want y'all to always come back to that solid foundation, that it's always you three, and you guys will always be good as long as you have each other, because you'll know the love that y'all have is built from this loving home that has come together to kind of just cultivate that for you guys and give that to you guys. Yeah.
I meant to ask you, and I don't want to intrude too much. I mean, I feel like I want to respect your privacy as well. I know you came on to talk about, but I want to ask you about. You said your son Maverick is autistic.
Yeah.
How did that present? How did that come about? How did you guys see that?
We are very transparent with it now, right? Because we feel like if somebody would have pointed it out to us earlier or gave us some sort of insight, we'd be super grateful, right? So for me and my wife, we're more now like advocates of it, to say like, talk about it. Hey, like this is what's going on with me. And if you see something in your kid, like you should take the same steps that we did. It doesn't hurt, right? Because good and well, your kid may not be on the spectrum. But if you see something and you don't act on it, and then years down the line, the advice that we're getting from speaking up on our own from people who have autistic kids, they're like, I wish I would have knew sooner.
Yeah.
So for us, even from just when they were like babies and infants before walking, like Cruz started walking and then Maverick wasn't walking yet. He was still doing something. It was like, okay, all kids walk at different stages. Okay, cool. Then you get there and then it's just like, well, he's doing this and he's not doing that. And it's like, okay. So you just watch that over the years. And the thing with autism is that you can't get a proper diagnosis until they're 3 years old. So we had to wait until this year in March to properly get him diagnosed and evaluated to see if he hits whatever milestones or markers through, like they have like a test of like whatever, I don't know, like 100 different things that he's either meeting or exceeding. And if he's not meeting or exceeding it, it's a point, right? And then they tally this up, and then that's how they get how far on the spectrum you are, right? Because it's a spectrum. You can be all the way to the left, or you could be to the right. You could be somewhere in between. Maverick falls somewhere like in between of just making it onto the spectrum, which is crazy. So just watching it evolve and watching him, it was just like, it was for me and my wife, we wanted to get to 3 years old so that we can know. We need to know, right? Because it's hard now. It's becoming hard to watch, right? It's just like, I don't know. I don't know if he's okay or if he's not okay, but I need to know so that I can either start arming him with the right things, or I just got to let him do what he has to do. And once we found out, it was kind of a weight off of our shoulders. We both cried about it. We had moments where where things presented itself, and it just, you see how other people react to certain things because they may not understand fully. Like I had an incident like last year, like earlier this year, and Maverick doesn't know how to interact and play with other people, so he will bump you or he may push you, and for him that's like initiating play, and he pushed like a little baby, right? It's a family member of mine, and he got really upset, upset beyond words, and it tore me up because I was like, yo, dude, I've been talking to you especially about all of this stuff, and even through that, it was just it hurt me a lot because I'm like, not everybody's gonna understand, even the people who are closest to you, because something like that happens, he's going to be protective of his kid over anything, and I'm going to be protective of mine, of course, but I'm also now being this parent. If there's another child around that is in the same space as my kid, I also know, hey, be aware of that. Just know, hey, something may or may not happen, right? Yeah. And I'm not going to blow up on that other parent and be like, hey, you gotta get your kid. What's your kid doing? It's like, hey, he got something going on, so. Listen, don't worry about it. Nobody's hurt. Everybody's fine, and we move on from it. But that would, for me, was the eye-opening moment, right? It tore me up, and I knew he was autistic at that point, but it's still just it just broke me down in a way where I was just like, all right, this level of patience that I have with him, just it went from 50 to it doubled. You know what I mean? It just changed dramatically for me, and I was just like, all right, I got to do a lot different with him, and I got to be more aware of him and his signs and things like that when either he's fatigued or hungry. It's a lot different than other kids, right? If he's hyper or anything like that, it's a lot different than what I see from my other two kids. So it's more or less just making sure we pay special attention to him without neglecting our other kids, right? But making sure that he's good and he's taken care of first. So it was a hard journey ultimately getting there. And I just gave you those as backstory so that you understand, we were just wanting to get to the point to know so that we can figure out how we do things with him and not just let him be, So,
do you kind of see these things present themselves as delays in development or delays in social activity, interactions, or a mixture of
Yeah, with him, I find it, in our case, he has a lot of delays with development. He's very smart. He can read, and these are things that we learned along the way, right? He can read at 3 years old. It's called hyperlexia. He can count from 1 to 1,000, and then he can count in increments of 2s, 5s, 10s.
Oh wow!
Things that Cruz can't do. Not that Cruz isn't smart, but for him,
his brain just operates in a different.
It's crazy. He loves numbers, so he'll watch these videos on numbers, and he's just absorbing it all, and it's just wow. So he'll be sitting here and he'll look at that book and he'll start to pronounce the words out. He phonetically he knows certain things and he'll pronounce it. So he has delays in other socially, right now, that's our biggest delay with him, right? Knowing how to initiate play with other children. And I think it's just a matter of time before we get there, right? Yeah. And he has a lot of language, but he doesn't use it functionally. So it's just if he wants a snack, it's just snack. Or he may grab your hand and take you to where the snacks are. Or if he's thirsty, he'll just go in and open the fridge and just that he knows how to do. So he'll go grab a juice box, or he'll just say juice. So, it's also a combination of us working with all of his specialists, of them giving us the tools to work with him, because they show up once a week. They do a job, but then they give us the tools to say, hey, work on this with him, and hey, teach him, hey, I want juice, or can I have juice, please, and stuff like that. So it's more delays in like certain developments than us not seeing him like progress at all, So he is progressing, just a lot slower than Cruz does.
In certain ways.
In certain ways, yeah, certain ways. So.
But it sounds like, at 3 years old, he's doing a lot of things that most kids even at 5 or 6 are not doing.
Yeah, I don't remember when Zachary even started talking. I'm pretty sure it started was like at 3, but I don't think he was doing anything with numbers. He was like blah blah blue. That was the only thing. He wasn't calculating anything.
Yeah. When he starts counting, like he starts ringing off numbers, and you're like people are always amazed. Like he'll get to 1,000, and he's like 2,000, and he just keeps going, and it's like
that's like a superpower.
Yeah. So it's amazing to watch. It's amazing to watch what he's developing in, and the things that are his strong spots, and just like honing in on that, and then watching what Cruz does, right? Cruz is kind of on that typical path. He's learning how to ride. He's learning how to do all of these things like that. And Maverick he's now learning how to write. He holds a pencil, but may not hold it the way you or I hold it, or how Cruz is learning to hold it, but he's getting there. And I know once he starts like writing and all that stuff, will probably take it to the next level. Because if he loves it, it's gonna be something that he really hones in on. So that's where we're seeing the development, is that with him and being on the spectrum, and I think this is with most kids on the spectrum, when they find an interest or something that a preferred activity is what it's called, they take it to the top. They're 100% at it.
Yeah.
And then the other preferred activities, they'll do it because they're like, the development is like, hey, we got to do this, and like, all right, I'll make it through it, but it's less interest in it. So it's just like, all right, I just got to get this done. Can we go back to doing this? And that's how he'll do. It's just like, all right, like we have to exchange doing his preferred activity for a non-preferred activity. So it's like, hey, if you do this, then you could do that, and he'll do it, and then he wants to get back to it. So, we're getting there. We're getting there.
And you said, like, when he was, I guess, to get him officially diagnosed, having that 3, what did that process like? Was that with a neurologist? Was that a psychologist? Like, how does that process work?
It was a neurologist.
Okay.
So we had to go see a neurologist. We got recommended one by our doctor, because we let our doctor was the first person that, we let know, like, hey, we think something's going on. And it's just like, okay, well, we can't do much until this time. There's no way to properly diagnose anything before then. So got plugged up with that specialist. We went, seen her, and she was like, all right, we went into her office, and she had the document, and we just kind of just went through it. And some things he did, some things he didn't do, and that's where it's just like, okay, all right, well, he is diagnosed now, officially diagnosed. And with that, now you can go and get everything that you need. So like in my neighborhood, the school district has early childhood center for kids with developmental delays, and we were able to get him into there. We were able to get him like an ABA. He has ABA services that come in the afternoons, that come and help him with transitioning from doing things like, she helps him with, like, we sit down, we eat, structured play, and going through a lot of different things with him. So if we didn't have a diagnosis, we wouldn't be able to get all of those things started for him.
I think it's also great that, like, where you live in that school district, they have all these resources.
Oh yeah. It's not the greatest, but it's there.
Yeah.
And then now that's the other struggle with parenthood, right? You always want the best, or you're looking for them to have everything that they need and more. So, now it's that conversation between my wife and I, like, hey, maybe we need to relocate, or, find something different. So that's a whole nother topic. Yeah.
I mean, I think I knew of one person who I knew many years ago, who I think his son was autistic, and I guess he was. I'm assuming. I mean, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not that knowledgeable about the spectrum, but I guess he was far on the spectrum, and I think he ended up relocating to another state altogether for like a specific school that just for children that were, I guess, that far on the spectrum.
Yeah, yeah. Because you'll see a lot of stuff, and that was like when he first entered the school, he was in a class with nonverbal kids, which was a lot for us because he's not considered nonverbal. He may not have functional speech, but he's not considered nonverbal because he can kind of tell you what he wants, and he'll tell you no, or you'll get a reaction out of him somehow. So he has a level of communication with them, whereas some other kids don't have any at all. They don't know how to use anything, not even functionally. And he knows how to use at least one liner. Like he can tell you no, and if you don't hear the no, then he shakes his head, or he'll shake his like, I'm not doing this. So he has his way of communicating, where we saw other kids that just they don't know how to communicate, or they don't have any speech at all. So yeah, I know it's again a spectrum. So you see a lot of different things.
So, need to pause. I need to use the bathroom.
Yeah. On that note, yeah, we'll be back. Let's take a quick break.
And we're back.
Then we're back. Had to grab a snack.
Back.
Like after bathroom break, snack break.
Snack break.
Your
water
mic's
break.
way far away from you.
Yep. We can't hear
shit.
you. We
That's
can't
funny.
I was like, how come I can't hear you? I can hear you, but I can't also hear you.
That's hilarious. I'm just talking here. That's what happens.
Is it? Yo,
Go for a break, you lose.
the amateur boys over here.
Exactly. Yeah, actually, like, I think we were talking, off. I can't say off camera, whatever.
Yeah,
off mic.
Off mic.
Yeah.
Off
mic.
air.
About
Off air.
off air, about politics. But yeah, I think I was saying where I feel like as a staunch Democrat, I feel a little betrayed by the Democratic Party. I feel like they kind of tried to circumvent democracy, and I think back to when Obama was elected. Who I loved as a president. I think he was so well spoken, articulate, and I didn't agree with all his policies, but for the most part, I think he tried to make some positive things happen
For the people.
for the people.
Yeah.
But he really didn't emerge until later on, and as the debates. But it happened in the primaries. It wasn't like he was the front runner from the beginning. No one really knew who he was, and he had a very polarizing name. I mean, if you really think about it, Barack Obama.
Barack Hussein Obama.
Yeah,
right? If you throw that
exactly.
in there.
Can't forget that part.
Yeah.
And but he really didn't emerge, and he never would have been a person who I would have assumed the big government system would have accepted. But he emerged as people. What he was saying resonated with people, and that's what the democratic process is about. And with this last election, the Democrats tried to circumvent that and just say, "Hey, we're going to give you this person."
Yeah.
I'm like, and she didn't really resonate with anybody. I think the Democrats really tried to bank on identity politics as her being a black woman. Oh, it's going to be our first black woman president, which I think, of course, will be a great thing, but that's not the only deciding factor when you're electing someone.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it was a really big misstep, and I feel like as things are coming out, as the way the Democratic Party has behaved over the past couple of years, it leaves me feeling not so great and not as supportive and not as aligned with them as I was in the past.
Right.
And it's unfortunate. I feel like they've, like I was saying before, I don't feel that they're the party of the working class anymore. And a lot of the beliefs that they share, I don't share. I'm anti-war. I don't want any wars anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're sending so much money overseas, and our infrastructure is crumbling.
Yep.
Education sucks in this country, And mind you, I'll preface this by saying, I'm not a huge that knowledgeable politically. I just know what I experience, what I see, which can be anecdotal, at best. But I just know as a working class person in this country, shit is hard, and there's no one coming to the aid of American citizens.
Yeah.
I think the most important part of it is, and I think what probably affected a lot of people in their choices is the things that affect you, right, by your party or whatever's going on. And I think if it outweighs the good, then you're gonna try something different.
Right.
And I think that's what has happened with what's going on. It's just like, listen, we've been failed, right? And you just said that, like, listen, I've been failed, or they're failing me, and I don't feel comfortable. And aside from whoever you voted for, the feeling that you have right now with what you got going on, you're just like, maybe we need to try something different at this point, or something has to give in some way, shape, or form for us to get back, or just things to just overall start to be better for just American people here. That's how I feel. Like, listen, if it's for the people, if it's for us, and the good outweighs the bad, just in general, and everybody's doing great, that's ultimately what you want to see going on where you live in your home.
But I think also what you said before is so true, is that it seems like this country is so hell bent on keeping people divided.
Oh yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there are, this is my opinion, I feel like there's certain views that I agree with like sort of left-leaning liberal views. Also, there are other things that, that I hear from the right that I sort of agree with as well. So I'm starting to realize I sort of fall in the middle. I'm not far left. I'm not far right. I'm sort of like a centrist. I'm kind of like, yeah, there's things from both parties. But what I hate the most is, like, don't try to fucking con me.
Yeah.
Like, fear-mongering. And after a while, I think I fell for it during Trump's first election. It was the end of democracy, this or that. But now with this election, during the election process before he was elected, that's all it was. He's the end of democracy. There's the end of America as we know it, blah blah blah. And I'm like, I mean, he was a president for 4 years. That didn't really happen. I mean, I didn't agree with a lot of things he did, but our country was still here. It wasn't the end of our democracy.
Democracy didn't go anywhere
Yeah.
because we had another election.
And
we're here
just
again.
some policies he did, I thought were fucked up, and I didn't agree with. I think there was an uptick in like racism and whatever, which has its own thing to tackle, or its own kind of like consequence. But we're still here, and I'm like, just tell me what you're gonna do to make it better. I don't want you to tell me if I'm trying to make a decision. I want to hear exactly what you plan on doing, not that the other person sucks.
Right.
Yeah.
I think division creates trivial items to try to figure out trivial problems, right? Things that aren't really that big, but people are focusing on the wrong things instead of focusing on what the people need. You know what I mean? Like we create this division amongst each other, and you get in a room with Democrats and Republicans, and it can be a whole big blowout or whatever it can be because everybody has their own views, and it's just like, what are we really arguing for? What are we really arguing about? What do we need as a people? What do you need? Because we probably have a bunch of similarities in both the parties that will be like, wait, well, why the hell? What are we even fighting for at this point?
And I think that's the really shitty part, is that everyone thinks that, and I see it from both sides of our friends who are very vocal, very right-leaning Republicans, and I see their social media feeds, and I'm friends with them. I never engage in politics because I try to avoid that conversation, but also I realize I just respect their beliefs, but I do realize that on both sides, people call this person, these people are animals. Whenever I hear that, I'm instantly like, anything you say after is like, you've lost all credibility.
You told I told you out.
But whenever they use that kind of language about describing left, right, like deplorables, whatever adjective you're going to use to group a bunch of people, you've lost me, because ultimately, and this is what I realize, especially now, as I'm getting older, as my son is getting older, as just something as silly as this podcast that me and Bryan and I have been doing for the past couple episodes, I've learned so much that I realized that ultimately everyone wants. There's a few basic things everybody wants. Everybody wants to feel safe. If they have families, they want their children to be safe. They want to provide for their children, and they just want to live decent lives. I don't think most people are greedy or conniving.
Yeah.
They just want their family and friends to be safe and well.
Yep.
And that same sentiment resounds all across. It's not just the United States. It's not just Democrat. It's not just Republican. It's everywhere in the world.
Yep.
And whenever people start pointing this, that, but also I've come to realize that the life you lead is the life you lead. And that, of course, is going to color your lens, and that's the way you're going to see the world. So someone who, I mean, I feel like when I was young, I had a pretty, like, lived very, very, like, rough, like with very little money, my dad. Then I moved from pretty much like the ghetto into like this very upper middle class white affluent neighborhood. And the things I experienced were different than they experienced. They couldn't understand a lot of things that I knew because they never experienced it. Yeah. It's the same way how, like I couldn't experience the life they led. So of course, like their perspective is just based on the life you've led. And if I led your life, chances are I may see things more aligned with you. And if you led my life, you would probably see things more aligned with me. But ultimately, it's not just like these people are stupid, these people are animals, these people are whatever, like idiots, whatever. It's just we have different opinion on how we feel like what will be best for our families because of our own experience. But ultimately, we all want the same thing.
Yeah. I think the basis is all the same.
Yeah. Do you think with politics, this is something? Have you had the conversation with your own kids on politics, or do you see a sort of influence on them? Because I've heard it with Zachary. He's like, oh my God, we're getting Trump in the office and this and that, and hey, why did they vote for him? And it's a little tough to sort of break down, sort of why we're in this situation. But you can give them like sort of high level view.
I have a little bit, but it's hard because we realize like and I also realize that my views have evolved a lot over the past couple of years, where like a lot of like during the last election cycle, I was like, fuck Trump, blah, 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 like very anti-Trump when he was, during his first election. And now it's changed. Now I'm not like, fuck Trump. I was like, yeah, I don't agree with his views. I don't think he's a moral person, but I also don't think that all these other people are moral people. Yeah. I was like, I think they're all sort of in it. You have to be a certain personality trait to 1 second. Pause.
1 second, guys. Let's take a quick break.
Okay, we're back. It's that little break. To finish, I guess I sort of lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
So politics with kids.
Oh,
So
I think we live. New York City is a bubble.
Yeah.
It's very left, very liberal. But my personal views are not as left leaning as they used to be, and my views have changed. But I know when I hear from the kids, they say, "Oh, Trump is this, Trump is so bad," and yeah, I don't like him. I wouldn't have voted for him as president. I don't think he's as bad as they portray. He's not going to be end of democracy. I don't think he's an honest person. I don't think he's particularly moral. But also, I don't think he's pure evil that's going to destroy the planet.
yeah.
So but I realize that, and I try to just listen to him. But also, I know that for at least my son, who's 10, he doesn't have the maturity or the mental capacity enough to really understand all the nuances of politics in America. So I just sort of leave it alone. Yeah, I don't like Trump, and I'm like, that's it. But it's a very hard thing to navigate, especially living. I mean, if you live I'm assuming in a state that's predominantly red.
Yeah.
Like a Texas or Florida or wherever it is. Depending on Florida.
Right.
Then the environment is
a whole nother world.
Then the environment is much different. Where I'm sure over there, a lot of the families are more right leaning and are staunch Trump supporters. But yeah, so I think because we live in New York, it's almost like they live in this echo chamber where everyone sort of agrees. And I realize also that children, because they don't have the knowledge or enough experience, they will just sort of absorb the views that are other. And so if most families are anti-Trump, and then the kids are gonna be anti-Trump, so that's the sentiment they have also.
Yeah.
I feel like, so I find interesting enough, I think growing up in my house, like politics weren't necessarily talked about. So I don't know if I was necessarily ever like educated on how to think about politics until now as an adult, right? Because now certain things are going to be affecting me more. And to your point, talking to children about it, I think that certain parts of America or certain demographics in America have educated their children for a long time on political views. And I think that's why we might be where we're at now, right? Some of these people who are now grown who can vote have already had a certain mindset growing up, right? And I think it's up to us now to start teaching our kids, hey, you got to pay attention to more things, and we got to teach you these things. I think it goes back to the first part of the conversation of knowing a lot more than what my parents knew, and the things to now start to teach my kids and have them be aware of politics, money, what the rest of your life looks like, and while still enjoying their childhood. I don't want to take that away from them, but I think there's so much more that conversation can go real deep about what to talk to your children about and how to not put a certain influence on them, but to educate them
Right.
in what's in the world. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because politics aren't going anywhere, right? Yeah. Our what we got to deal with, I don't think it's going anywhere. It's just making sure that they're educated a lot sooner than later, so they're not playing catch up and not like trying to figure it out. And I'm like, well, I don't know what this is, and I don't know what that is. I don't know what Democrat. You know what I mean? I don't think I really understood what Democrat and Republican was most of my teenage years until I became older, and it was like, oh, well, you can vote now. And it's like, well,
I think the first president I remember hearing about on the news was when Clinton was voted in.
Yeah,
I can't remember anything before that. Before, I don't think it was I just think I just overheard it on the news, and I was sort of capable of understanding, like, oh, we have a new president, and it's Bill Clinton. After that, then I was like, when I got to vote, then I voted and stuff like that. But I don't think I heard it about it until I was like, I mean, I must have been, maybe I was a teenager. I don't even know. I was living in Greenpoint at the time. Whenever Bill Clinton was voted in, that's when I heard about it. But I think for me, it's sort of like also, of course, and he's heard me say, I'm totally not for Trump. Is that my sister calling? That's totally like not for Trump. But I also told him, I was like, listen, I think it's important to listen to both sides so that you can make your own decision. And I think that's super important, because I can give you all this information, but I'm like, I don't have all the political knowledge, and I can't really share with you all my ideals, but I can tell you, listen to both sides, and you can make a decision. He doesn't have to make a decision, anytime soon, thankfully, but I think it's important for him to recognize that and be like, you know what, I'm going to listen to both sides, and let me see what they're saying. Let me see what they're saying. Let me see what I agree with.
And don't get stuck in your own bubble.
Yes.
Yeah. Understand the different views out there, because I think that's important, right? Hearing everybody's different views, hearing both sides, because again, there might be similarities in there. The basis of what we all want, right? Like you said, hey, I want to be healthy. I want to be able to provide for my family. I just want to have an overall good life. It may be there may be, you might want to have $1 million, and that's great for you. I might only need $100,000, and I can still live a great healthy life as long as my basic needs are ultimately met. Which I think that's what every human being just wants. Hey, I just need my basic needs met. All the rest of this stuff, I could figure it out. You know what I mean? I don't need to have everything in the world, but I just need to be able to make it to tomorrow without having to worry too much about everything.
And I think it's also, now that we're talking, I realized something else that just occurred to me, that it's shocking how much politics and policy affects families. Like, I just thought of before, when I was like sort of like thinking about our conversation earlier about when you said the resources for your son in the area you live in is good. It's not great, but you've had a conversation about relocating to other places, and I start realizing that boils down to policy and how much money the government is investing in its citizens and giving back to. And I can't say giving back, but putting in programs to help families of people in the U.S.
Because that can be everywhere in reality.
Instead of it shouldn't be like, oh, if you have to go to here, to this state or this county or this whatever to get the service, it should just be across the board. And the amount of money we spend on war and killing people is fucking bananas. And I was like, if it was just shifted into like helping people, and specifically helping families who have resources, and of course, no one's saying everybody deserves free money or whatever. But everyone deserves some kind of assistance if you need it, and the government should. That's ultimately why we pay taxes. I don't pay taxes for that money to be diverted to kill other people from other
Right.
around.
Right.
I was like, I'm paying money to as like in my hopes as a social safety net. So at some point, if someone else needs something, they then can get it as well.
Right.
So it can kind of like help ultimately level the playing ground, which I think goes back to our previous thing is if you're just surviving, you're not thriving.
Right.
If all you think about is just feeding yourself the next day or the next week, then there's no way you can really plan ahead or focus or really help your family grow. All you're doing is surviving, and with the hopes that you'll survive long enough that your children or whoever you're surviving with can then build upon that, which is a really unfortunate, sad part of policy and politics in this country. Is that it's and it didn't ever really occur to me until like literally a few minutes ago that I really thought about what you said, and I thought about the policies, and I was like, yeah, these are things that I hate politics, and I try not to I want to put my head in the sand. We start realizing, policy actually affects our children.
Yes.
And what's available to them, and I mean,
their basic needs.
Yeah.
That when they come of age and they're the ones now contributing to society, right? Because right now we're in it and our children are not there yet. They become 18, 21, they finish college, whatever. Now they can pay into all of these things, all of the things that we're like either voting for or putting in place or anything like that, whether it's good or bad, it's going to affect them because they're the next generation to come in with things that are set here. So if we can't meet our own basic needs now, I think it only becomes worse for them.
Agree. And I think, I know that you said you have the challenge with your son and finding resources for him. And you have it, but you want the best.
I want better, yeah.
But I think even for my son, my son has ADHD and Tourette's, and we've tried. Thank God this year, he started middle school, and it's like been 180 for him academically. I think all through elementary school he struggled, barely, failing most of the year and somehow getting it together just enough to pass most of his grades, and move on. And this year is the first year where he's actually doing really well. He made silver honor roll. I was
Nice.
Nice.
But getting him to a point was it's hard. I was like, I think there's still things I know because, I'm sort of like the boots on the ground because, I work from home and he's with me. So I do his homework with him. So we're very intertwined. And his, I check his calendar. I'm like the tiger dad.
Yeah.
I'm on his ass. And so but getting him to a point was hard, and even still, there's things I know he needs, but that the DOE or whoever will say, "Oh no, doesn't meet these needs, doesn't meet that needs." But I realized that he might. They just don't have the resources, so they have to be very stringent and particular on who they give it to you.
Right.
Because ultimately they can't give it to everyone because you can't get water from a rock.
Right.
But if there was a budget that says, okay, these are kids that need help, here's a budget for it. Use this money to help them. Then that would open up, and it wouldn't be like this. You wouldn't have to jump through so many hoops to get the help that you need. So I think and I think now that I have a son who's older who has some challenges in school, I'm starting to see it more. I'm like, it's a lot of work to get the resources you need from the school.
Yeah.
And I feel, and I think you had mentioned also that your son was in. His initial class was a lot of nonverbal kids.
Yep.
I have very good friends who their son is nonverbal, and he's older. He's a teenager now, and they're very educated. They're both Harvard graduates. They're very smart, really amazing people. But they advocate for their son, and they're lucky because they have the education and the time and the ability to do it. But I think of and I see how challenging it is for them. And they're already way ahead of, and I can't say way ahead, at least in education-wise, ahead of most people.
Mm-hmm.
And even, the opportunities they have are not available to everyone else. I think of, a single mother who's living in Brownsville, who's struggling to make it, who has a nonverbal son. what can she do? Who's helping her?
Right.
How does she even know how to navigate through this convoluted system
Yeah.
to get that her
And
her
are
kid
there any resources even available
exactly
to
to
her?
get her son the basic, without because I mean I've spoken to those parents, and for a lot of their son Michael is very smart, but he was nonverbal, so a lot of times in the system they sort of just toss him to the side. He's nonverbal, he's dumb, mental capacity, but they realize he can communicate through a touchpad, and he's really fucking smart,
Yeah.
and he's articulate, and but he had no way of getting it out.
Yeah.
But no one ever took the time. Most schools just like, hey, just put him in a classroom, and he's
quick
just there
label.
taking up space.
Just throw him out.
No one's really catering to him. No one's really, because in their mind they don't see any. There's no ROI. There's no investment
Yep.
that they see, because he can't communicate. When they finally able to do it, they realize how intelligent he was, and he was. I think when he was younger, he was like reading or able to communicate at like a college level.
Yep.
And he was like young, like still a kid, but no one would ever known. And if they didn't advocate for their son and have the ability to do so. So and to me, it's like, it's shitty how policy affects families, and how this divisiveness makes this environment so much more contentious, but doesn't foster. It goes back to the same thing. We're just surviving. Everything is about, we're just electing this person so he doesn't end democracy in this country.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's not it. I'm like, talk to me about who's gonna, like, tell me your plan. What are you gonna do to make all of our lives better?
Yeah.
I don't care. Don't talk shit about the other person. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And I feel like I think as someone who's like earlier was very political, and now I feel very disillusioned, and just like especially this election left such a horrible taste in my mouth with the Democratic Party.
And you just want to disconnect from it.
Yeah.
And not even,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't. You got to constantly be engaged, because you have a little guy that needs these policies or anything like that to be in place, so that once he's there, he can have at least the basics, hopefully.
And same thing with your children. I'm sure. I know Zach also.
Yep.
Zach has ADHD as well. So, and I'm sure. Brian's wife works for the DOE.
Yeah.
So she knows. It's even that. It's hard to navigate that system, and so I'm sure. She knows. She's more knowledgeable, but most people don't know. They kind of like, even for me, I'm sort of fudging my way through it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's so many like policies and so many like services that you can receive, but if you don't know about them and you don't fight for them, you won't get them at all. And it's very easy to get discouraged and be like, oh, you know what, whatever, I'll try again next year. But we fought to get services, and everything was fighting like hell to make sure. He was like, listen, if he needs like an iPad for like technology assistance or whatever, we got to try to get him. If he needs someone to come in and to help him to do something, we really need that.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll be like, oh, he doesn't need this, he doesn't need that, and we'll give him a test, and I trust the professionals in a certain way, but I'm like, I also know my kid, and I know what works for him. I know what would work better for him in the class to help him learn. Like you gotta fight for that stuff. A lot of people give up though very easy.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And imagine if you don't have the time. If you're like,
Yeah.
you're
Oh, yeah.
working
Yeah.
a job, 40, 50 hour, a regular job.
Yeah.
Like someone who works at Target, someone who works like, whatever, just even whatever, even someone who has a white collar job in an office. If you have a demanding job, then where do you find the time to kind of go and start advocating for your kid? And that's like having a second job.
Yeah, it is.
And the mental load on that,
Yeah.
along with making sure that everybody can eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everybody's basic need at home is met. Hey,
Yeah.
there's a roof, there's food,
Mm-hmm.
you're warm,
Mm-hmm.
and we can make it till tomorrow. We'll try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a tough day and age that I think all of us live in. No matter how much money you have or how little you have, that it never is enough, because there's always something that's missing. And I feel like if we get to the point where everybody's basic needs can be met, we can focus on other things, or just have a better quality of life for everybody.
Yeah, agreed. And I think recently it's gotten very hard. I think for a lot of working families, even groceries are so expensive now. Inflation is crazy. I'm like, it's interesting because I go to Costco, and I was there yesterday, and this package of meat that I normally buy, it was about $30, $35, and I was like, all right, I normally get it. I went yesterday, $45.
Yep,
And
just
I'm
like that.
I'm like, I was here maybe a month or two ago, and it was 30. I was like, how does the price jump so much?
Yep.
And I'm like, so I was like, never mind, I'm not gonna buy it. I was like, I can't spend $45 on this beef. And I was like, no, pass.
Yeah.
I was like, so I mean, and I'm fortunate that I have a decent job. I'm like, and I have a job where, I'm making decent money. I imagine if I was working at, making $25 an hour, if I was a DoorDasher, if I was over at Target, I was working at just a regular, job. I'm like, how are these people surviving? If I'm like struggling a little bit, I'm like, oh, if I'm feeling it in my pockets, I can only imagine what a lot of people are feeling.
And you only have one kid.
And
it's
yes,
like, imagine
exactly, one kid.
Like working those jobs and they have multiple kids. That's rough.
And you go to the supermarket and strawberries are like $8 a pound. You're like,
Yeah.
fuck for a box of strawberries.
Yeah.
You have
It's
3
gonna
boys.
last
I'm like,
that doesn't even last me a day or two.
Yeah.
It's done. You know what I mean?
I joke. I'm like, there's times I go in the fridge. I'm like, where are the strawberries? I was like, oh, I ate them. I'm like, what do you mean you ate them? Like the whole box, the whole package is gone. I'm like, yo, I was like, this kid just
inhaled them.
Yeah,
But they're growing.
Yeah.
Leaves
they
and all.
constantly need.
sustenance.
Yeah.
Food,
Yeah.
I noticed that with my kids. I'm like, yo, there's always someone in the fridge, and it's like you feel like you're always going there. Like I feel like my biggest bill next to owning a house is the grocery bill.
Grocery, yeah.
And grocery keep going up and up.
Yeah.
It's always getting higher.
Oh yeah.
I feel like a couple years ago, you go shopping maybe $200 for a week or two, maybe. Now it's like it's like $200 and you have like 2 bags.
Nothing. Yeah. I don't even have teenagers yet, so I don't even know what that's.
Oh God.
I mean, I have a 10-year-old, and like his portions are like sometimes bigger than mine.
Yeah.
Zach wants to eat. He'll eat, and then like an hour later, and I'm like, I'm stuffed. I'm like, I'm ready to take a nap. He's like, can I have a snack? Can I have this and that? He wakes up at sometimes, and sometimes I don't have breakfast food ready for him or something that's easy, that he can cook, and he'll get up and I see a plate with like just like leftover stuff, and I was like, yo, what did you eat? He's like, he took like fish. He took fish out of a bowl my mom made me, right? And I was gonna eat it the next day. He took the fish, left me with the rice and meat, and just ate it cold, straight from the fridge. I was like, what a beast!
I know. He's like,
I was like, you didn't even want to heat it out? Yeah, exactly, with the bone, the whole
bone
fish
come
bone.
out?
There's no time for it.
I was like, he'll take anything he'll find. He'll eat it like cold, like pizza. Pizza's fine because but I'm like cold fish from the fridge. That ain't it, man.
that's his body being like, yo, feed me.
Yeah, I think his body just like heats it up before he
His body's like,
inhales
yo,
it.
his body's growing. It's like, yo, I need food. I need
Yeah.
calories. That's sustenance. But yeah, it's challenging, and it is. I do feel a little concerned with how things will evolve for a lot of families, especially living in areas like ours or like metropolitan areas.
Yeah.
Where like
Things are generally more expensive.
exactly.
Yeah.
And how that plays out. Even housing is sustainable. I
the
think
worst. Yeah.
I think I looked at 2 bedrooms now in my area, going for like 3,700. I'm like, who
can afford that? Yeah, nobody.
I was like, I can't even afford that. I was like, how does someone afford that? How much money?
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem sustainable, and it seems like I feel genuinely concerned with, let's say, like the state of middle class families in even 5 years. I'm like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, it's jumped a lot. Yeah, and I can only imagine. Yeah, like you said, it'll probably keeps going up.
And salaries are not going up. It's not like
Exactly.
salaries are not keeping up
That's
with
the part.
inflation.
That's the part, right? If things were going at an even ratio or whatever you want to call it, then yeah, maybe like okay, $3,700, or when I go to the grocery store and I see that in like that inflated price on the meat, I'm like, oh okay, well, the money that I make coincides with
with
how things cost.
But it's not.
It's
You're
not.
still making the same amount of money with like little nominal increases every year.
Yeah.
But even that,
Little cost of living bullshit.
Yeah, but like it's interesting because jobs they'll give you like a 2 or whatever 3% cost of living. I'm like, no,
That's
I was
not a
like,
raise though.
Yo,
I'm like
inflation
that.
is like
Cost of
at
living
like
is like
6-7%.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys aren't even coming close to the like what inflation is doing. I'm like, so what happens? I was like, it's scary and it's frustrating, but I mean, the shitty part is ultimately none of us have really much that we can do, and it's like, and we're sort of like beholden to these
We're sort of at the mercy.
At the mercy,
sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
these people making policy.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like I don't know if. I'm actually curious to see what's going to happen with the Republican Party now that Trump's is in office. I wonder if any good will come out of it, because nothing good came out of it when Democrats were in the office. Like all the things I thought they would have done, they didn't do.
Yeah.
Money that should have been spent on citizens is now being sent to buy weapons and fucking airplanes and drones and missiles or whatever the fuck they're buying.
Yeah.
To kill other people whether it be Israel, whether it be the Ukraine. Yeah. I'm like, this is there was some podcast that I was listening to, another podcast, and I think that there was an accounting issue where $5 billion that we accidentally sent an extra $5 billion to the Ukraine. And they're like, and it was only like, but like they didn't give the money back.
No, why would I?
Yeah,
You sent it to me.
It's
free.
But it was an accounting error that was like $5 billion. I was like $5 billion.
Yeah,
that's a lot of zeros. That's a lot. It's not like 50
I know.
bucks.
I was like, imagine if they would have took that $5 billion that was like an accounting error and just said, we're gonna just put this money in place just for education across the entire U.S.
Yeah.
How much better, well equipped schools would have been, quality, increased salaries for teachers.
Yeah.
I'm like, it would have been such better return on investment for the country. But it's really sad and scary, and I've often thought about relocating out of New York, but I was like, I don't know where to go. I mean, I'm sort of tethered here because of my me and my ex-wife. Mm-hmm. She sort of have to agree to come wherever I would want to go. But even that, I'm like, even not retiring, like, do we leave the country? Do we go? Where do we go?
Yeah. I don't want to stay here. I mean, the thing that would keep you here would be your kids, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your kids don't go anywhere, but I wouldn't want to, in the grand scheme of things, if I had a perfect world, I wouldn't want to retire in America.
Where would you want to go?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it too deeply, but I just know here isn't it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like watching like even my wife's in-laws, they're both retired, but like the amount of money that they spend now in retirement, they don't have a bunch of needs necessarily, and they just spend a lot of money. You know what I mean? It's just, and I just think it's just like how everything is, Thank God, like her father worked a city job, so he has like good benefits outside of that.
Yeah.
But if he didn't and he worked in the private sector like we do, right? What does our retirement look like? We don't have any pensions set up. You have to save all of our money and then make our money stretch until the day we die. He doesn't necessarily have to think about that, but still, like, him having to spend money or do this or do that, it's just like now he's on a fixed income.
Yeah.
You can't work overtime. You can't do this. You can't make anything extra. What happens when things become more than what he's making out of his pension, right? Yeah. What is he gonna now? He's gonna be on a different side of a boat. Hopefully he never reaches that day, but it's a reality that it's a thought that can become a reality.
Yeah. And especially, I mean, most of us as we get older, we're probably gonna be on fixed income, and even if you have $1 million saved to stretch out for, and also a lot of us are living longer than we did in the past.
Oh yeah.
So now, and with inflation going, I was like, how far would that money go? Where, let's say you allocate 10,000, let's say 10 grand, which is nice. That's comfortable, 10 grand right now. 10 grand a month, if you don't have, a huge mortgage or rent or whatever, you have something decent, that's living fairly well. But if let's say that 10,000 that you're accounting for in 20 years, what will that get you? Nothing. If a pack of strawberries is $20 by then.
Oh yeah. You're getting a few strawberries.
Yeah.
A strawberry.
Exactly. So it's scary, and I think I told Bryan before, things I'm starting to realize now is I think more about my retirement or more of my old age, and also myself is like just in my life, and what I want is I have more years behind me than I do in front of me, and I sometimes it might sound a little morbid, but I tell my son that I'm like, look, I was like, I'm not going to be here forever. And you may think that I'm on your ass. You may fucking hate me. You may think I'm the biggest asshole in the world. I was like, it's never going to stop. I was like, I'm always going to push you until one day I know you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because one day I'm not going to be here. And that could be tomorrow. That could be next month. That could be next year. That could be in a decade. I'm like, I'm not going to be here. So I want to make sure that you have all the tools that you need to live. And, and I tell them all the time, I don't care if you're a millionaire. I don't care what you do. Just be a decent person and be gainfully employed and do something with your life.
Yeah.
And I think the goals, I think back to what you said about your dad. Look back to your dad. I'm like, I'm sure he must be fucking filled with pride.
Oh, yeah.
Now, like, his sons are doing well. They have children, have grandchildren. They're all gainfully employed. They're all,
Yeah.
And back to your point, my dad was probably on our ass even well into our 20s. Like, if it looked like we weren't doing anything, it's like, well, what are you doing? Like, you didn't go to school, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And it's like, all right, Dad, like, I got you. But it's like, now I look at it and it's just like, hey, he may not have had the best message, but he was always on us to, you gotta want more, you gotta do more, you gotta get yourself to a point where you don't gotta think about too much. Not like we did, right? We had to think about it. We've lost things, we've gained things, and we're here now, but it could have been a lot different, and I'm gonna be on you until I know you're good, ultimately.
Do you feel yourself like pushing your kids, or do you have a more laid back approach?
Every day, no.
Every day?
No. I tell my son now, because what I see in him is what I see in me. And I was talking about, my conversation might go all over the place. I was talking to my brother about this, and like our parents, and this is back to my first part, my parents, they've had to work, they've had to do what they had to do. So we all did what we had to do. We did it, but we may not have gone like over the top, right? And we didn't fail, but we fell right kind of in the middle, right? Where mom and dad don't got to worry about us getting good grades, messing up in school too much, or doing anything like that. And this is probably like a twofold thing, but we were able to get through school, decent grades, and that's like off the sheer whatever, just like whatever's in us. You want to call it talent, whatever. It wasn't a lot of hard work. And it's just like, imagine if my dad took a moment to say, yo, man, you got to do what you got to, like, I don't care. You got to push it to another level, right? I could probably be somewhere different right now, right? Who knows? I could be on two different sides of the whatever. I could be left or right. But now with my son, what I see in him is just like, hey man, yeah, you could get away with doing the minimum, and I may not worry about you. I find myself even doing that, right? Like, you did what you had to do. Yeah. I don't gotta think about it. Yeah, go play video games, or go do this, or go do that. But if I don't ask him for more, hey, before you play them video games, you got to read 20 pages. I want you to push yourself to read a book, read something. Hey, it can be a fictional book, it can be non-fictional. We can get to the point where now we're reading different things, but you're constantly challenging your mind to do a little bit more. And I want that to be your normal instead of just squeaking by. So now I'm on him like, hey man, like, the other day he's playing his video games. All right, you got to pause this up, clean up this room. I could have left him. He's 6, right? I could have left the room, and I could have probably cleaned it up myself. But no, like, certain little things to just do, to be like, hey man, I got to be better. Well, now next time maybe he'll be like, you know what? So that dad doesn't bother me, I'll clean my room ahead of time, or I'll constantly keep my room clean, right? So now he's proactively thinking ahead, which is what I want you to do. I want you to think ahead, so that, hey, like, I'm always going to push you. And once I see you starting to think ahead, all right, now I got to think of something else, so that you can constantly push yourself to do more and more and more and more, so that you don't have to worry about the things that I worried about, or struggle in the areas that I struggled with. You'll develop great habits ahead of time instead of learning it later on in life. Because I feel like probably each one of us in this room, we've learned certain things later on in life that we've honed in on. And it's like, man, I got this discipline now. I wish I had it when I was 12 years old or going into high school, because I could have probably went to Harvard or Columbia or this or that, or did all of these great things. Not saying you guys aren't great. You guys are amazing people. You're in great places in your life. But I know we always think of that, hey, there was probably more potential in me that I wish someone tapped into when I was younger. and just gave me, it doesn't even need, it's just a little nudge. Really, it's really a nudge just to push you past that limit that you set for yourself, because we all set a certain limit, and there's always someone to push us, whether it be your mom, your dad, my wife now, right? My wife pushes me in a certain way. I've watched her go through so many things, graduate undergrad, go to law school, pass the bar, and it's like, wow, like you've done these things on your own. But that's been her normal in her house for them to push her, right? May not have been my normal, but now she pushes me to be like, Kirkland, like, you got to be better. So I try to push that same agenda with my boys. Well, not the 3-year-olds so much, but, you know, we start with little things. Hey, just put your dish in the sink and throw that in the garbage. And they're good with that. If they finish something, they run right to the garbage. They run right to the sink. And it's just the small habits of, you're not just going to leave that on the table and someone else is going to do it for you. You're going to do it for yourself.
It's like building a foundation.
Oh,
Yeah, those are small but good habits.
Yeah, yeah.
It's great seeing when you push this stuff and they act upon it, like they do it themselves, and you no longer have to be like, hey, take out the, wash your dish, put your cup back, or clean up your room. I think that for me is phenomenal. Every time I see it with my own kid, I'm like, all right, so it took a year, but all that year
We got
of him, he got through it. I was like, fine. I was like, oh, finally, like that's my ROI,
That's funny. And how about between you and your wife? Who's like, are you more the disciplinarian, or what roles do you guys play? Is it different? It's sort of like with the boys.
Yeah, I'm more of the disciplinarian. They react differently to me, and they react differently to. I feel like it's a father-mother dynamic, right? Mom is a little bit softer with her boys, and they know that, and they can try to play on it to a degree. I'm soft with my boys too, as I think all of us as men know how hard and cold this world can be, and I want my sons to also know that their father has compassion for them as well, and that I can have a soft spot for them, and not that, like, I didn't necessarily grow up with that. I know my dad loves me beyond words, but how he showed it is a lot different than how I show it with my children.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with what he's done for me or how he showed it to me. It's just, okay, now I'm in a space where I can talk to my dad, and I get that now, right? So, like, I could only say to myself, like, imagine that as a man growing up, if I had that earlier on in life, where I didn't feel certain avenues of life, like going through high school, when you're going from, like, childhood and boyhood to, like, teenager, kind of like young adulthood, right? And then you enter into life, and it's just like this shock, and you feel like you got nobody to talk to. And not saying my parents weren't always there. My home base is always there till this day. If anything ever happened, hey, Mom, Dad, can I come back home? Sure. You know what I mean? But being able to have that foundation now, where I'm able to build a certain relationship with my boys and have a certain compassion and understanding and communication, I think it'll help them so much more than them feeling like they're just men having to navigate this world. Like, you can ask for help, right? I think us as men, we don't do that, right? We just got to figure it out. And if I need help with something, if I know I have the right people in my corner, I know I can call Pete because he may have the answer to this issue, or I can call Bryan because he has insight on this. Why not pick up the phone and be vulnerable and be like, hey, man, I need help,
Well, I think, that's one of the common things that Bryan and I have discussed, and a lot of people we've spoken to discuss, is that, and I said it so many times, and I'll say it again, I was like, it's unfortunate that the way many of us grew up was that men showing any kind of emotion wasn't really acceptable. The only acceptable thing you could show is anger or aggression. And even then, it's like, you'll get in trouble, but it's almost like, you're a boy, it's okay. Like, boys are going to fight. But if you're crying, or if you're sad, or whatever, if you show anything like that, and it's like, oh, what are you, a little girl? Like, stop being a baby, man up, or boys don't cry.
Right.
Yeah.
That's always a big thing. Boys don't cry. And I think the unfortunate part is that, that's probably been the case for a long time. I feel like I'm trying to change that now a little bit, but I still have, like, my old meathead ways,
Oh, yeah.
because it's so part of my DNA. It's so ingrained in me. It's hard to like let go of all of it. But so I'm trying to teach it that. But I know, I think in the past I've spoken, I know a big part of the reason why I wanted to create this space in this podcast was because I knew some fathers who committed suicide, and I realized I'm like, there's no place for men or fathers to really say anything or say this is fucked up, or it's almost like if you speak about the challenges that you're experiencing, you're complaining. Well, why are you complaining? Man up. Like stop being stop being a little bitch. Like that kind of sentiment. And so a lot of times men internalize it and they feel isolated and alone, and you don't show that vulnerability because it's you learn that, or it's kind of taught to you that if you do show that, it diminishes you as a man.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing to let go of, but and that was part of a big reason why I wanted to create this and have dads on and create a space to discuss about anything. Anything about our children, politics, whatever, because before our conversation, before we took a break, we were talking about your kids, and then we had a bathroom break, and we came back, and while we're started recording again, we're talking about politics, and I was like, all right, let's just go back and recording. So the subject changed entirely. To something else. But I feel like ultimately that's what conversations are, and I think having a space just to talk about whatever you want to talk about, and feel okay. And I think that also goes back to politics. I feel like that people should be comfortable expressing their views and not be like, oh, you have this view, well, you're you're a fascist, you're a snowflake, you're this. It's just like, I have an opinion, and just like listen to me and I'll listen to you. And at some point, I'm sure, like if you really listen, we're gonna find common ground, and I can understand your perspective.
Yep. Yeah.
So I know I hope my hope is that as time progresses, that more people come on, that we can be a place where other dads or other men can listen to them, like, oh, and some things may resonate, other things may think, people may think I'm a fucking idiot, and not care for me or whatever, but with the hope that someone can hear something, oh yeah, I've experienced that as well. I'm not the only one.
Yeah. That's the key to so many things, I think, is realizing that you're not alone in this world in a lot of your thoughts, and maybe even just knowing how to identify them, even if you may not express it, right? Just as an example, what I do with my kid now is, like, if he's having like a meltdown, I'm like, hey, like, why are we crying? And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we figure this out? Or then what? Like, let's try to understand what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Did something happen? No. Did you hurt yourself? No. Okay. Then let's figure, like, why are we crying? And it's like, well, I don't know. Okay. Well, we can come back to it and figure it out.
Yeah.
Help them to identify what has their mind in this state. Why am I crying? I'm hurt. I'm sad. You said this to me, or I stubbed my toe. It's okay to let me know when you're hurt. It's okay to let me know when you're sad, and it's okay to openly say that out. You don't have to just keep it in, right? And hopefully someone hears that and they're just like, yo, you know what? Like you said, to your point here, it's just finding that common ground and being able to relate to it. You still may not express it, but it may help you in your journey of being like, you know what? I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
There's somebody else out there going through the same shit that I'm going through. And they're finding a way to relate to it, and I just need to find mine, however that looks, without having to, unfortunately, anybody that you've known having to end this life in any way of thinking that this is the only way to figure it out. There's so many different ways.
Do you find, because I ask this because I feel like this is something I struggle with. Do you find when you ask like your son to talk about his feelings or sadness or try to help him through it, do you find like sort of like how you help him, you don't really help yourself in the same way, or when you're dealing with your own stuff, or do you, I feel like, because as I was like listening to what you were saying, I realized, I do that with my son as well. But full transparency, I feel like the past couple weeks have been a little rough, and I've been like, kind of like, I think going through like kind of a depression, and I was very irritable with my son, And then he was like, oh, and then he said to me, he's like, I feel like you're just picking on me. And I was like, and I'm not sure why. And I had to stop. I was like, you know what? You're right. And I was like, and I said, I'm sorry. I was like, I'm going through this feeling. And I tried to express it to him. I was like, I think I'm like a little sad. He's like, why? I was like, I don't know why. I'm just going through this feeling right now. I don't know what it is, or why it is. And I knew what it was, but I can't. Of course, I'm trying to insulate him. I don't want to express that to him.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking to myself, like, as you're. So I spoke with him about it, and he was like, he's like, okay, I'm sorry. He's like, all right. And then the next day, I kind of snapped at him, and he was like, it's okay. I know you're going through something, and it's okay. I know. And I said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to snap at you. He's like, it's okay. I know that you're going through, like, you're a little sad, and you're going through it. And I was like, oh shit. And I was like, and it made me kind of reflect on myself. And then I thought to myself also, like, the compassion I show him, why am I not showing myself that same compassion?
Are you taking your own advice?
Yeah. And I feel like on myself, I'm always like, what the fuck? Like it's almost like in your mind, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? What are you, a fucking idiot? Like, get your shit together. And I feel like I started thinking, like, why am I talking to myself like this?
So I've been, I want to say like the last 2 years or so in therapy myself.
Mm-hmm.
And my journey has been of like learning to love myself and understand myself a lot more and take like self-inventory of what's going on. And I think so often enough, right? You were able to express that to your son, but you didn't like express that to yourself and give yourself that moment. You found that compassion in him because he said, Dad, it feels like you're picking on me, right? So like now he feels like my dad's mad at me because it's my fault. And you don't want him to feel that. So now you're able to express that, right? It's not your fault, son. It's me. And instead of sitting down with yourself and just saying, you know what, like what am I going through? What am I feeling? Just taking a self-inventory. And I find that I have to do that. I do that a lot more often. And I'm trying to arm my own self with tools in that and showing them that, like, hey, just take a moment. Don't even trip, right? Because we don't always know how to, like, you didn't know how to deal with that until you were confronted with it. And you said, I don't want him to feel this way. And now the way you dealt with that, well, I get I'm the one feeling with it, but how do I get myself out of feeling this way? And it's just taking that same compassion that you took with your son and instilling it upon yourself. And I've realized that as long as my cup is full, I'm able to pour into everybody else's cup without losing much of myself. I'm able to be a better husband, a better dad, a better friend. I'm able to pick up the phone a little bit more often because I know I'm not running from this space of being empty. Because when you're running from that space, you feel like everybody's just taking something from you, whether it's your kid or your wife, and these are the things that you have to do. It just feels like you're losing so much of yourself instead of like, listen, man, I could do this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm well rested, I'm fed, I feel mentally okay. And I'm just saying, okay, you're not going to be 100%, but everything is, you've taken that compassion with yourself to be like, you know what? Like, take a minute. Go through your moment, think about it, and then we figure out how to move forward with it. You're not going to have the answer, but we figure out how to move forward. And I think half the battle is just identifying it with yourself and giving yourself that compassion.
Are you able, do you find it, I guess you said you've been in therapy for 2 years. Is that something you've learned along the way? Is that what you do with yourself? Or do you still find it challenging? Or
I went into therapy because of a lot of things that were going on with my marriage and thinking that I needed to go to therapy to try to figure out how to be a better husband. But what I learned was that I needed to figure out how to be a better man first to me and everything that I have going on in my life before I can be a better husband. What am I doing all these things for? Am I just doing it for the other person, or am I doing it for myself? What am I okay? What bad habits am I okay with myself, and what good habits am I okay with? And it's just like, if I'm looking at the bad habits and it's just like, it's something that someone else is pointing out at me, then I'm just changing this for you. What do I want to change about myself? And to your point, your main question was, do you feel like it's helped me, or I'm sorry.
Or are you still sort of able to do that? Like, is this something you learned, able to do? Because I feel like it's sort of like, I equate it to, knowing what you should do, but actually putting it to practice. And for me, I don't know. I feel like most people, I feel like we're our own worst critic. And I feel like I'm probably as immensely harder on myself than on anyone else. So I feel like even the way I talk to myself is like, I would never talk to anyone like that, you know? But I talk to myself in like, a very, like kind of a fucked up way.
Yep.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with
Yeah.
you? Like, and that's something that I feel like even now I'm starting to realize that I'm trying to find a way to put into practice to like the same way. Like, I mean, I think I do have to kind of like deal with some anger issues I have, and I'm working on that. But I feel like when I talk to my son about what he's going through, I can talk to him and show compassion and grace and try to help him. But then I realize that like that's not the way I treat myself. I treat myself like I feel like I'm an abusive partner. Yeah, I'm like, you fucking piece of shit. What the fuck?
Looking
is wrong
in the
with you?
mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't know how to talk to myself. Right, I only knew how I was talked to through all of my years, or outside criticisms, and your biggest critic is always yourself, right? And you're always going to be the hardest on yourself, no matter what it is, and that can put you in a multitude of spaces where you're feeling what you're feeling right now, right? Because you don't even know how to talk to yourself and identify your own emotion and just navigate through that. And I think in therapy, I've been given certain tools and certain things, and even just some things that I come to on my own without my therapist having to be like, hey, we'll do this. And it's just like, oh, I'm glad you figured that out on your own. And you're figuring out how to just navigate yourself and go through those emotions. I think I've learned a lot of it in therapy by just, I feel like therapy is it's no different than this, right? Like I'm kind of just speaking out loud, like just speaking my thoughts, and then you're going to give me your perspective, or you're going to give me your perspective. And I have like two different perspectives and two different tools, and I could pick which tool to use. Like this will work for me or that'll work for me. It works for them, but they figured out their tools, and now I need to figure out mine and what I need to do. And I think that's what therapy has taught me over these years, with in regards to speaking to myself and loving myself and going through whatever I've gone through. Because when I went into therapy, I was in a deep, dark place. Like I just bought the house, I was working this job and not making enough money. It feels like, I mean, I was able to afford to get the house, but then it's just like things just started coming in, and it's just like I felt like I was going underwater, and I didn't know how to get myself out of there, and I was just living day to day. And then started therapy and just started going through it, and it was just like, well, like, why am I living underwater? Why am I not trying something? Like, and it's just like, yo, get up, and like you would have done this differently years ago.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to like take that moment and be compassionate for myself and be like, hey man, like you got to go through what you're going through right now. Like you got to deal with these emotions to push past all this, and you got to talk to yourself nicer, and you got to make yourself feel good about yourself. People could say something. I could call you a piece of shit right now, and you'd be like, man, fuck that guy, and it rolls off your shoulders. But if you say it to yourself, it resonates so much different.
Of course, yeah.
It's in your mind. It's constantly you're just repeating it, and you start to believe it almost, right?
Yeah.
Believe the opposite, or let yourself feel that for a second, and then, well, wait a minute. I am this person. I'm that person, and how do I be compassionate with myself? How do I give myself some grace to be in this moment? That's another part, right? You're probably not even giving yourself space to be depressed. You're like, I can't be depressed. What the fuck is going on with me? And it's like, live in that moment for a second. Give yourself that moment. You deserve it. You've been through a lot. You've done a lot. Process that emotion. And then we figure out what the next moment is. And I feel like I've done that a lot over the past 2 years of like, I just got to process what I'm feeling and then move on, and then try work my way out of it. I can't just say move on. You don't just move on from it, but process it, think about it, and be compassionate while holding myself accountable. And yeah, I think that's what's gotten me here in this headspace, and a lot better, a lot different, you know?
And I guess these tools that you acquired, or these skills you acquired through therapy, do you think I'm assuming it's helped you. I'm assuming you as like, be a better father, but also, that things improved in the marriage as well. Like you say, you're having issues
Oh yeah,
with your spouse.
yeah. I mean, everybody has their
Yeah.
day-to-day hiccups, right? But I think a lot of the major hurdles that I was going through was not being able to communicate what I needed from my wife. My wife can, I think women just have this in them. They're able to communicate with us all day, right? Hey, honey, I need this, I need that, blah, blah, blah. And they may get to a point where they shut down because it's just like, I've been asking this man for this for so long. But we never ask for anything, right? That's how the argument always goes. I never asked you for anything. Well, why not? You need help, right? You need help with your day-to-day. You need help with waking up and taking the kids to school, feeding them in the afternoon. So some days you don't even have the mental, my mental is so off, and it's like I'm doing all of these things out of routine, and I may snap at a kid or I may snap at you, but now it's like easier to wake up and be like, hey, I'm not feeling 100% today. I'm at like 70.
And is she supportive of you? Do you guys have that kind of relationship where you can tell her? And
we've built there, and I think we built that over me learning how to communicate better, communicate with myself, and identify like, yo, man, you're not running too hot today. And I'll tell her like, I'm not 1,000%. I didn't sleep too well last night. I might be a little irritable. And so if I do have a moment, there's a little bit more grace there instead of it being like, well, you woke up in a nasty mood today, and then it's an argument, right?
Yeah.
I didn't wake up in a nasty mood. I'm fine. And it's like, well, no, you're not fine. Because now someone's like almost picking at you. Like, I know something's wrong with you, and you're not telling me. So I think being able to identify that ahead of time,
and articulate
shit, it's 75% of the battle. Because now this other person can come to you and meet you where you need to be met. How are you feeling today? I'm like at a 70. Okay, well, I'm at 30. So that's our 100%. So wherever I'm slacking, can you help me out here, and vice versa. So
I feel like that gives room for compassion, where as opposed to where it's sort of like, shit, it is an argument now, and now it's just a back and forth instead of be like, damn, you know what, you're going through something. Let me hear you out. Or just like, you know what, take your time, take a moment.
But I think it also is a more proactive approach as opposed to the person you said before, like, oh, you go walk up in a nasty mood, your initial reactions become defensive and then combative. You're like, oh, I'm fine. I don't know, what are you talking about? Instead of like just being like, I'm not that great today. But also it's a testament to like the relationship you guys have with your wife, that you both have built a place where you can say that, and it's not like you're not going to get a response where she's going to be understanding, and it won't be a response almost like, well, why not? Or it's more of an accepting, compassion.
Yeah.
Okay,
Why
all
you
right,
acting
I'm
like
here
that?
to pick up the slack because today you're struggling.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's times that can go either way in some relationships.
Yeah. And I think as a man, it took me to get here to be vulnerable, to be like, listen, I'm not feeling too good today, or whatever I'm dealing with. Hey, because so often enough we're just like, hey, like she can't know I'm off. It's like, no, like that's the number one person. Like I wake up with you every day. We're going through this life together. Like I gotta let you know before anybody else what's going on. And yeah, it's a work in progress. We still got things, but I try to communicate as openly with how I'm feeling and where I'm at with her first and foremost, so that she knows, like, all right, cool, like this is where we're at. So
All right, man.
All right. Well, on that note, Kirk, thank you so much for coming and sharing. Appreciate it. Love you, man.
Love you guys too. Hey, I just made like a new brother over here, right?
Yo, I really appreciate you, man.
Actually,
man.
we all got to
you
try
guys
to get
for having
together.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. This is only sometimes you got to break that ice, right? Ice is broken. So.
Anyway, once again, thank you for coming on. It's been a great conversation. Thank you for sharing, being vulnerable.
Always.
And
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been another episode of the Full Dad Podcast, and I guess we'll catch you on the next one.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
You guys have a great one.
Take care.